and welcome to Piano and Keyboard Artist, where we discuss the artists related to pianos, keyboards and synthesizers. This video is a follow-up video to the video I did a couple of weeks ago, and in that video I spoke about Dave Gahan and the Soulsavers. Today I want to follow that video up with a discussion on basically something that's come to my mind now that I've seen some of the performance footage. I had the opportunity to go to one of the live shows. I didn't go, unfortunately, but fortunately a lot of people I know did go, and I've been gathering a lot of feedback from a lot of my friends and group members that went to see Dave Gahan in the London shows. So as always, opinions are divided, but it's been overwhelmingly positive, really. I think a lot of people went in there more for the fact that it's Dave Gahan and, yeah, to support Dave Gahan, but they're all kind of wishing it was Depeche Mode, you know, that they were seeing. And you know, from the footage that I've seen, you know, both on camera phones and, you know, on YouTube and Facebook and all these social media platforms, I must say it's pretty much what I expected. Once again, in the first video, which I just released a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about Soulsavers being kind of like a natural transition for Dave Gahan at this point in his career. Because let's face it, I think at his heart, he's always been a rock kind of guy. And, you know, that sort of really took root from Songs of Faith and Devotion, and then, you know, coming to this present point now, I think the Soulsavers is now a natural vehicle for Dave Gahan at this current stage in his career. And things change. You know, we can't hold on to the past, but fundamentally, very, very positive reviews that I've been hearing from people. I know that they did throw in a couple of Depeche Mode covers, I believe Personal Jesus and John the Revelator. Once again, some hardcore Depeche Mode fans were less than complimentary about those performances. Some people saying that they butchered those performances. However, some of the footage I saw, I disagree. I think it was done in a very Soulsavers kind of way. I think if you're going to compare those covers to the way Depeche Mode did them, you would be disappointed, and that's not the idea. Remember what I always talk about: when you cover something, you need to bring something fresh to it. And of course, Dave, being the original artist, covering his own music in a different musical lineup, I just think, you know, the way they performed John the Revelator and Personal Jesus, certainly from what I saw, I think it paid homage to the original. It was, you know, respectful to the original source material. And yeah, I think they did a very good job. Once again, as I said in my previous video, I'm not a fan of this style of music, but even to the group members and friends of mine that went to see this, although they feel the same, they had to agree that it was a class act. It was very polished, it was very intimate, and it was interesting. I was reading an article from the Clash magazine. I think it's a Clash Online or something like that. I will post a link in the description below, and it was just interesting. I think the headline caption of that article says, "Oh, it was very quiet." And you can imagine Dave walking onto the stage of about, you know, with a little auditorium of 2,000 people or less. That's very small for Dave Gahan, you know, coming from the Spirit tour, which was, you know, stadiums. So this was definitely something different. But look at the footage. He seems to be very, very happy. He seems to be loving it, and he just seems to be in his elements. So, as you know, I was not at the shows, but fortunately, my wingman, Lloyd Edward Day, who is one of my admins of the Vaughn George Facebook group, he actually went down to 2 of the shows. He went on the Friday and the Sunday, and he's going to give us a nice in-depth analysis of what he thought via a Zoom chat. But before we jump into that Zoom chat, I just want to say we're just calling time now on the Depeche Mode poster prints, which are autographed by Brian Griffin. The Christmas offer is still on, and it's just going to be running now for this week, and then it's over for the Christmas period. And we're also doing these lovely Star Wars prints as well, which are also autographed by Brian Griffin, and they are delivered to you anywhere in the world exclusively available here at the Vaughn George channel. Right, let's jump into the Zoom chat with Lloyd. Lloyd, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Vaughn?
Yeah, jolly good, my friend. So thanks for joining us on this chat about Dave Gahan. I know you've been seeing a lot of gigs lately, and so we'll probably get you on more episodes later. You're kind of like my man in the field, you know, going out to see the gigs because I'm just lazy. But let's talk about Dave Gahan and the Soulsavers. Now, you went to see them last Sunday. What was the date on that?
5th December, yeah. I went on Sunday, 5th December. So, yeah, it was at the London Coliseum. I went with, well, our friend and fellow admin, Carla. So she saw them on Friday as well, but I didn't go with her. But I went on Sunday. Yeah, so when I went on Sunday, it's a very intimate venue. Before the show, I bumped into one member called James Rooney. I even bumped into Christian from the Spirits movie as well.
Oh yeah,
very very briefly. We kind of knew each other because we met each other on Depeche Mode Global on Zoom, so he kind of recognised me, so which is good. But if you want, but yes, in terms of the show, let's state the obvious here. It's not Depeche Mode.
Yeah,
it's Dave Gahan and the Soulsavers. So as people know, Dave has been venturing more into the bluesy rock spectrum, and it was pretty much analog, no electronics whatsoever. And if you've seen what Dave's been doing recently, the whole rock thing, and the Elvis,
Mick Jagger meets Elvis. Yeah.
Stage movements, in this context, it actually makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Lloyd, and this is what I said on the previous video. And if you guys haven't seen that video, just link to it in the bottom. I did say that, we started seeing, I think, when I went to see that Spirits of the Forest video, I think most people knew that some people were quite shocked how brutal I was. And, as much as I am a Depeche Mode fan, I have to be honest about my feelings. I'm not a virtue signaling fanboy that just blows smoke up everyone's ass, and I always give a critical reason as to why I don't like something. And there are many reasons why Spirits of the Forest, the whole it was just disappointing. I was looking forward to it. It was disappointing. I think Spirit was a disappointing album for me as well. And, when I spoke about, Dave's performance on Spirit, it's almost as if he'd been away for so long, and when he came back, it was like he was a different person, with the moustache and the red jacket and the red shoes. And I was a bit like, okay, I get that, but it was a little bit too cabaret for me, for Depeche Mode, and a lot of fans agreed with that. Now we fast forward to the Soulsavers, and as I said in my previous video, I do think that this to me is a natural transition. This is kind of, I feel, where Dave wants to be, and also what I said in the previous video, and indeed what I've seen from the live footage I've seen. There's just one word I can think about that comes to mind when I see Dave and the Soulsavers performing, and that is the word I used, dignified. Because let's just face it, and there was an article that one of our Facebook group members posted, and I will put the link in the description below to an article. And Dave spoke in that article, and I think the headline to that article was, "Oh my God, it's quiet." And I think what Dave meant by that was, on a Depeche Mode show, you can imagine they've got the pre-show music. Think of the last gig when they had that Spirit, they had those walking legs. That was great. And you got the crowd screaming. You walk on into this shouting, screaming, noisy, euphoric crowd. Now with the Soulsavers, it was just very low key and intimate. And I think Dave, coming from Depeche Mode, which are a super group, and indeed have upped the ante with their last tour being a stadium tour, now coming into this kind of intimate venue, playing to smaller crowds of 2,000 people, which I think he enjoys. And I'm going to let you talk now, but I just think this to me is a natural progression. I think it's where Dave wants to be. I'm very, very impressed with the way he does this, albeit I'm not a fan of this kind of music, and I think a lot of us here are not. However, I give respect to Dave for being dignified. And what you said earlier on there, Lloyd, is quite right. you said that the way he performs now, and the wiggles and the shiny jacket and all that, that kind of works within the context of Soulsavers, within
Exactly.
within the context of Depeche Mode. The red shoes and the red jacket. For me, it doesn't really work.
You hit the nail on the head there. It's everything you just said makes sense. Just makes sense. So yeah, when I saw Dave, it didn't seem out of place, especially with the whole presentation and the way he moves now. And also as well, when I listened to the Imposter album, I was not impressed. But when I saw in a live context, it 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 made more sense, and I liked it more. And it made me appreciate the album more, which was a bit unusual because normally, if I don't like an album, I don't like the album. But certain songs translated better live, which was I did not expect. And as the show went on, because like you said, it's very low key. Like like Depeche Mode, big stadium, big arena act. There's normally a lot of adrenaline pumping and people shouting. It was very much like,
yeah, it was very grown up, so to speak.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very like mild applause. But the towards the end of the towards the end, I think there's the encore where everyone went nuts. Is when him and the Soulsavers did their own rendition of Personal Jesus.
Yes.
And everyone just went nuts. And if I get lynched here, I'll so be it. But their rendition, I think, was more respectful of the actual recording because it was the first time in a long time where the drums were, especially analog drums, were respectful to the recording.
Yeah, you say that they did a cover of Personal Jesus, and I think on the night that Carla was there, they did John the Revelator. Now, a lot of the people said that these were great renditions. There are, however, fans that they murdered it and sounded crap. You can't please everyone. However, the footage I saw, I think it was very, very good. Obviously it's very different to Depeche Mode, but they respected the song and they performed it, the way it should be within the context of this type of band.
Yeah, well, if you listen to Personal Jesus and John the Revelator, if you take away the electronics, they're actually quite rocky songs. I would have criticized Dave if he did a rendition of, I don't know, World of My Eyes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, if we listen to Violator, Violator was a very programmed type of album, very sort of metronomic and very precise, very Kraftwerk influenced. One of the greatest electronic albums of all time. Speak to Kevin Paul, he will say it's the greatest recorded album of all time, but that's another story. So when you listen to songs like World in My Eyes, that it's just so precise. And yeah. I don't care how good a drummer you are. Just playing that on a live drum, because with live drums you get spill and you get all that kind of that shimmeriness, which is good within certain songs, but it doesn't work on World in My Eyes. So I absolutely agree with you. I think them choosing songs that, like Personal Jesus, which are fundamentally rock, bluesy, gospel leaning songs, suited this perfectly. And I've got to give Dave Gahan kudos here and credit for, he's aging well. He looks amazing. I mean, what's he, 60 now? And yeah. I did say that in my previous video. I remember around about, I think it was the Spirits of the, no, when was this? I think it was the Sounds of the Universe tour. I was watching the behind the scenes footage, the documentary on that. And Dave said in that documentary, he said, I'm pushing 50 now. And he said, if I ever look back at our live performances and I can see the cracks starting to show, I will then know it's time to stop. Well, Dave's 60 now, that was, so, and where am I going? What I'm trying to say is I give him full respect for being dignified. He's never going to, there are a few artists out there and we're not gonna, name and shame, so to speak. They're kind of out there and you're just like, okay, please stop now. Dave is kind of like, he's going down this route of, okay, this is where my heart is. This is the way, and he presents himself and it works. It really, really works. Once again, I'm not a fan of this type of music. However, full respect for doing it properly and following your heart.
Yes, it was. He definitely executes that. It's the style of music suits him now, and I can see him doing this longer than I can with DM. And I don't want to speculate, but I will. I think DM behind the scenes have split up quietly.
Yeah,
I think anyone will know about it. I think. Well, there's two reasons why I think this. One, since the pandemic, they could have used all this time to make a new album.
You're right, absolutely.
But Martin's been focusing on his Mandrill thing, what it was called. Dave's been focusing on his Soulsavers thing. So that's one theory. Proves my theory right. The second theory is organizing a big world tour, which costs so much money and resources in the pandemic times, would be very risky because, rescheduling, getting the money back, it's just way too much. It's way too risky now. So in a way, maybe the pandemic has sort of forced them to split up in some way.
I think you're right there, Lloyd, and I think you've hit the nail on the head, because I think, the pandemic's been, let's face it, it's been a real ball ache. But I mean, I and many other people I know used it positively. We used the time to, I've written my album, and it's ready to go. Well, we're mixing it, but it's ready to go. The bottom line is, a lot of people have used this time constructively, and as you say, they could have used it, to write an album. And I don't know how prolific Martin is. I don't get the idea. He writes every day. I don't know what, but yeah, I think they could have used the time more prolifically. And also, you're absolutely right. There is huge risk involved. Things are very unstable at the moment. I think the writing's on the wall. I think there's definitely more longevity in Soulsavers for Dave. I mean, he could do this well up into, hey man, in his 80s, because with this kind of music, it's not unusual to see some geezer 80 years old going, that real kind of. But, at 80 years old, seeing Dave Gahan swinging his microphone stand to, it's just a question of time, it's highly unlikely. So I do think this is a natural progression. And I think we'll just see Martin going more into, because Martin, let's face it, although he's the musical one in the band, he's a great guitarist and very musical spirit, as Gareth Jones calls him. I think his heart is always fundamentally in the electronic sound. So I think he's probably going to venture off more into this electronic sound, like this, that chimp, the mandrill thing. What's it called? What was he? Oh, not VG, MG.
The thing he did with Vince Clarke.
Yes. The electronic stuff. But I would like to hear Martin release a solo album, whether it be a counterfeit, but I would like him to do a solo album. Anyway, we're going off topic here. Yeah. Coming back to Soulsavers, I believe Carla met. Carla's one of my admins. For you guys watching, she and Lloyd are the admins of my Facebook group, and she actually met Dave Gahan. She was standing at the stage door and she met him, and she was quite fangirled out when I spoke to her about it. So, did you see Fletch there? He was at the venue.
I didn't see Fletch. Believe it or not, that I try to keep a lookout for everybody. The only person I saw, as I mentioned before, Christian. But no, I didn't see Fletch. I did hear he was there. I also heard Peter Gordino was there. I didn't see him.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's just as well I wasn't there. Not that they would recognize me or anything, but they're like, are you the guy who takes the piss out of us?
Oh, well, I think that would have been so awkward for you.
Yeah, well, I say what I have to say, and I don't mean any disrespect by it.
Oh no, I think as well. Like, so I actually met one person that night. I can't remember who his name was, so this is really bad. But after the show, and he was talking about the sound production and the DM. He's a fan, and so I used the opportunity to ask him to be subscribe to your channel and all that. And he kind of went, "Oh, I'm already a fan of Vaughn George." So yeah.
Well, thank you for flying the flag, Lloyd. So, Lloyd, we're going to get you in on another episode, because I know you've just been to see the Human League. You went to see New Order. You went to see Duran Duran, and you're almost like the man in the field. So, we'll probably get you on a few. Probably look at doing this more frequently, getting you on and talking about the shows you saw.
Sure, no problem, Vaughn. Thanks for having me. So we'll definitely do that episode, and I enjoyed this episode as well.
Okay, so final thoughts on Dave Gahan and the Soulsavers?
I would say I've been converted, and I like it. And I think if he does decide to do future shows like this, I will definitely see him more. So yeah, I'll definitely look forward to it than a new DM album if that's on the cards, but it's very unlikely.
And yeah, that was going to be my next question. I was going to say, what do you think is the likeliness of a new Depeche Mode album?
Very unlikely due to the pandemic situation and also the fact that Dave and Martin are in different musical headspaces. So
you can. I mean, I was speaking to Gareth about this as well, and Gareth is always very diplomatic in his answers, but I think Gareth also agrees that I think Dave's head has always been in the sort of rock and roll kind of thing, and you know, it started off in Songs of Faith and Devotion, and you know, it is where it is now, but once again, it's a natural progression. I think it's, you know, if Dave ends up with the Soulsavers and goes in that direction, you know, it's better to do that than to, you know, what we don't want Depeche Mode to be going and us be going, oh my God, stop, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that's the case. My criticisms on Spirits of the Forest, it was not Dave's performance, it wasn't Martin's performance, it was just you know, the live drumming and, you know, things like that, which which I've made very clear in that video. I just think that this is as you say, the writing's on the wall. The Depeche Mode shows are huge productions. You know, they couldn't really scale it down. You know, they've lifted it to a level now where they're a super group, and I just think the strain on them, not only at their age and you know, and with the pandemic, it's just, it almost like it doesn't make sense. But I would personally, I would like a send-off album, and I think as a lot of the fanboys and the fangirls would say, or they'd love Alan to join for a send-off tour. Probably highly unlikely, but hey man, we'll see what happens in the next few years. It's a very exciting time for music at the moment.
Exactly, yeah. So I could definitely agree.
Lloyd, thanks very much for your time, my friend. We're going to get you in on the next installment of VG News. I'll catch up with you soon.
Catch up with you soon.
Adios, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that chat. Seems as though Lloyd and I are pretty much on the same page as what our feelings are regarding this. I do actually regret's a strong word. I do think I should have made the effort and gone to one of these shows because I did have the opportunity. And I am kind of kicking myself at the moment thinking, you know, Depeche Mode is such an important part of our channel. Dave Gahan being part of Depeche Mode, I should have really made the effort. But I'm happy to see that my feelings on the subject of the Soulsavers, the performance, Dave Gahan's, you know, interpretation of the songs and everything, I'm pleased to see that it was pretty much on point as to what I thought. So it's now your turn, guys. What did you think of the performances? Have you been to any of the Soulsavers gigs? Are you going? Are you not going? Are you interested? Are you not interested? There are a lot of Depeche Mode fans who are just like, hey man, Vaughn, I'm not having this. We're just not having this. But what are your feelings? Anything you want to say? Please share them with us. As always, please subscribe to this channel if you've not already. Join my Patreon community for more in-depth content. And also, if you're on Facebook, feel free to join the Vaughn George Facebook group. It's free, but it is a closed group, so you just need to request permission to join, and the admins will grant you access. It's a great place to discuss the videos that we talk about on this channel. As always, thank you so much for your support. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. And next week, it's the next installment of the Violator album review series, and we'll be talking about Blue Dress, and then we'll be wrapping up with that series soon. My friends, all the best, lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Adios.